My name's Anne-Marie Borniff. I'm one of the academics in the nursing department. I teach pre-registration student nurses. I've been very interested in how I can integrate social media into the learning and teaching of my units. I predominantly teach on a research unit. I've taught research for a number of years and I've always run journal clubs. So I thought about, rather than bringing students into the classroom and having a classroom experience of giving them an activity, going away, reading about it and then coming back, that maybe we could utilise social media, namely Twitter, to overcome the classroom experience and actually convert it into an online blended learning experience. So I essentially posted a journal online, got the students together at a specific date and time, and we created a research flash mob where we discussed some of the components of the research article. 3 cohorts of students have come through the teaching activity, and so I've had to sort of like learn myself as I've been going along in terms of how to get the students to better engage in Twitter and the journal clubbing activity itself. So I ended up having to do a 2-hour introduction session, getting the students set up on Twitter, getting them to practice sending tweets, understand what a hashtag was, understand how they could use Twitter from a learning and teaching perspective rather than as a resource giving perspective. I was absolutely surprised because I was expecting nobody to engage in the conversation. However, I got 47% of the students out of a cohort of 70. It's pretty good uptake to say that A, they were doing it in their own time, didn't need to be in the classroom to engage in the activity. There was no register to sign or anything like that. It was completely of their own volition that they could participate in the activity. So I was really chuffed with the uptake. The students that engaged in it found it really beneficial in terms of talking to other students from other cohorts, being able to liaise and talk to the academics about the article, being able to feel as though they were having some teaching being given in terms of some of the terminology and some of the statements that they were making through the tweets, so that they found it that they were learning from it in an effective way that they thought was possible, really, because I think you have to overcome a little bit of cynicism when you're setting out something new with anybody, really. But the students were pleasantly surprised what the learning, what they got out of the learning from that. I just rolled it out there with the first lot of students and just saw what the uptake was, and like I said, it was 47%. But I did feel in some of the feedback that I got that the students found it a bit challenging in terms of having to set up accounts and things. So that's why I modified the PowerPoint presentation and introductory session to set them up a bit more robustly, so that they could find it easy to engage in the activity. In terms of the logistics of setting up the online session and setting it up through Moodle, you do have to persevere, get some help, make sure. I planned it out and did a lesson plan and wrote it down and looked at what the learning outcomes were going to be, because you've got to look at how you're going to sell it to your students. There's got to be some educational benefits to it, rather than doing it on a bit of a whim. And it's all about timetable planning, and I made sure the students were in the university. It was a timetabled session so that everybody knew that it was, you know, a formal session. So there is a bit of work to do in setting it up, but you know, the reward when you're actually there for 2 hours talking to like 35 students and a number of academics about an article that you've tweeted out for people, it's quite really, you know, it carries a lot of job satisfaction. I was buzzing after it, to be fair. Do you know what I mean? And the students were buzzing as well when they tweeted afterwards and said how much they enjoyed the session and things.